Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Marketing with a Book and Speech podcast. This is our weekly visit with our authors to hear what they're doing and also to answer questions about marketing with a book and a speech. Thank you for joining us. And it's we were just talking about the pandemic, about who can believe how long it's been or how short it felt, but we know what's going on some more. So we're still looking at those things. There's things we can do to market with a book and a speech despite COVID-19, despite a pandemic. And we're needed more than ever. So those people who are counting on us to help them get through need your message. They need your stories. Your stories matter. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today, and also to get a message out there. Before I turn it over to our chairman, Mark LeBlanc, I just wanted to mention something Mark said a year ago, that you should be doing a TED Talk, but you don't have to get invited by TED to give the talk. You can put together a short talk. Today, we're going to talk to somebody who went the step farther, worked with a member of our faculty at Indie Books International, and got a TED Talk, delivered it during the pandemic, and is reaping the rewards from it. So we're looking forward to that. But first, I wanted to turn it over to Mark LeBlanc.
Thank you, Henry. And I will keep this brief because I'm simply looking forward to hearing our guest today. But I want to just sort of share the story of how this got started. It was in early December. I shared with Henry, I said, I just want to put this idea in the parking lot. I said, I think we should do a podcast. We don't have to make a commitment to it today. Let's think it through. And before the end of the conversation, I think Henry had already found a date and a time every week. And he took the seed of an idea and took action on it immediately. So I don't know if it had been something that had been on his mind for some time, and somehow I brought it up, and not that he needed my permission, but it just opened up a lane or a channel. And all of a sudden today we are on our third episode, and we are thrilled with how this has taken shape and how it's come together. And so if you have something in your parking lot, if you've got an idea that is worth exploring, or take a chance on it, try something. One of Henry's great lines is, how could you get started in a small way? And so give some thought to some of those ideas that have been sort of simmering in your parking lot, or that you've been giving some thought to. If you feel in your gut or your intuition that, hey, this is an idea worthy of taking action on, never could I have imagined just 45 days ago that we would be on episode number 3 and having as much fun as we already are with those of you that are joining us every week. So take an idea and turn it into an action step, and create a path and a plan, and you just never know what great results can come from it. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Mark. Before I have our guest speaker, I'm going to do a lightning round and ask our producer, Suzanne. Suzanne, could you unmute everybody? Do the mass unmute, and I'll call it off. I would like you to give a very brief introduction. Somehow I got muted there. We'll try it again. So I'm going to call on everybody, and I want you to give just your name. Hi, my name is, and then your book title, just the main title, not the subtitle. this is for the family to get to know each other and identify a face with a book title, because the purpose of these calls is also to promote cross-pollination, for us to amplify the work of other members of the family. So I'm going to start it off with, we'll save Astrid. So it'll be David Goldman, Mark LeBlanc, and Regina Barr, whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm David Goldman, and my book title is The Road to Happiness.
And my name is Mark LeBlanc. I've written several books, but the one specific book I'd like to shine a light on today is Defining You: How Smart Professionals Craft the Answers to Who Are You, What Do You Do, and How Can You Help Me?
Regina?
I'm Regina Barr, and my book title is Solving the Confidence Riddle.
Now, Bill Leiter, Chris Hodges, and Diane Ployce.
Hi, I'm Bill Leiter, and my upcoming book is Mastering Your Balance.
Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Hodges, the author of Successful Intelligent Automation.
And Diane?
Hello, I'm Diane Ployce. I'm working on a book on questions to ask for franchising.
Thanks. And now Mary Schmid, Patty Watkins, and Steve Brody.
Hi, I'm Mary Schmidt, and my book is entitled Make or Break Conversations: How Smart Financial Professionals Land and Keep Clients for Life.
And Patty?
Hello, my name is Patty Watkins, and my book is Land and Expand.
Thank you. I think I said Steve, and then we'll go Teresa Ashby.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Houston, Texas. My book is called What Happens After the Sale, and it is a case history of one of my clients who went through the whole process of selling his business and all of the steps involved in doing that, and then what happens to life later once you move to the next phase.
And let's see, Teresa Ashby, Brad Pierce, and Tim Lupfer.
Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Teresa Ashby, and my book is Better Implementation Now.
Hey, thanks. I'm Brad Pierce, and my book is A Sustainability Mind Shift, and the subtitle is How to Accelerate Business Leadership, Impacting Results Before Time Runs Out.
And Timothy.
Hi, I'm Tim Lupfer. My book is Leadership, Tough Love.
Thank you. I don't think I missed anybody. Thank you, everybody. So I'm Henry DeVries. I've written 12 books so far. So I think of all my books as my children, and like my children, I expect them to take care of me in my old age. So I don't know which one I want to focus on, but I'm working on a new one. My upcoming book is called Rainmaker Confidential. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Well, our author with us today is Astrid Baumgardner. She is the author of the book Creative Success Now. And she is a recovering attorney. She is on the Yale faculty and helps with careers for creatives at Yale. And what brought her here today is she rocked the short talk. She went out, got coaching, put together a TED Talk, went through the steps, and delivered it despite the pandemic. So to hear about that story, let's welcome Astrid Baumgardner. Astrid, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak about my TED Talk, Cracking the Code on Creativity, and for sharing how all of you as authors can share your expertise to do your own TED Talks. So if the title of my TED Talk intrigued you, and you're wondering if you're creative, I have a quick test for you. How many ways can you use a paperclip? Now, the answer to this question will tell you something about your capacity for creativity. And now I'd like you to go back to yourself in kindergarten, age 5. You're curious about the world, your imagination runs wild, and you're fearless in your pursuit of figuring out how things work. How many more ways would your 5-year-old self come up with to answer the question of what to do with a paperclip? Well, the good folks at NASA, our space agency, actually did a similar experiment. And they found that 98% of 4 and 5-year-old children score as creative geniuses. And sadly, by the time we're adults, just 2% of us score in the creative genius category. But the good news is this: you were born with the capacity to be creative. And it is my mission to help you access that creativity and bring more creativity into your life so that you can experience and enjoy full blast living. Well, my friends, this is the essence of the TED Talk that I gave on December 6, 2020. And it is the result of a very long journey from the first inklings of an idea about a TED Talk to actually doing the talk. I'm sure many of you are thinking, wow, that sounds pretty cool. Could I ever do this? And the answer is a resounding yes. As authors, you're all experts in your subject matter. You're passionate about your idea. You have the discipline to write a book, and you overcame a lot of challenges to do so. You have what it takes to do a TED Talk: the passion, the pointed focus, and the perseverance. So let me pull back the curtain on my experience and share with you what it takes to go from idea to TED Talk. Well, I'll never forget the day that I decided to do a TED Talk. It was at Henry and Mark's IFF conference in San Diego, March 7th, 2019. Now, those of you who have been to Henry and Mark's conference know how great it is. You meet all these wonderful people, you listen to outstanding speakers, you come away with so many ideas. Well, I was there as a first-time author. I'd nearly finished my book, really excited to meet everybody, and totally overwhelmed by all this great information. But my confusion lifted when I heard the presentation of Des Thornton. Des is an executive communications coach who helps people who want to do TED Talks. His talk was called Confessions of a TED Talk Trainer. He encouraged us to find the one big idea that we were uniquely qualified to share and took us through the process of how to do a TED Talk. Wow, I thought, this sounds doable. I actually do have something new to say about creativity. My book, Creative Success Now, sets forth a 3-part framework to help creative people achieve success and greater happiness and fulfillment in their life. And it starts with a new concept of creativity. That creativity is problem solving plus passion. And it goes way beyond the flash in the pan genius idea that's only with artists that so many people think of as creativity. So I knew that once my book was out, my goal was to do a TED Talk by December 31st, 2020. So my book launched in January of 2020, and I then contacted Des again for a one-time consultation on how to do a TED Talk. So Des first clarified, what's a TED Talk? It's a short, focused talk where you share a great, well-formed idea, or, in TED parlance, an idea worth spreading. So what does this mean for you authors? Well, you take one big idea from your book, something that's either new and surprising or a great basic idea with a new and compelling argument. TED Talk is all about the audience because it takes your audience on a journey to change the way they see the world. It's all about credibility and connection. You need to be an expert on your topic, which you all are, and you need to connect emotionally with your audience so they'll want to take that journey with you. And a TED Talk is short and focused, 15, 18 minutes, long enough to flesh out an idea and short enough to keep the audience's attention. So step 1 then is for all of you to come up with your TED-worthy idea. That might be the one idea in your book that changes people's way of thinking. It might be the thing that surprises your readers the most, or the thing that's never been said before in a TED Talk or otherwise. So the next step is, how do you get on the TED stage? Once you're fired up with the idea, you need to be accepted at a TED conference. Well, the big TED conference is typically something that someone will nominate you for, or they'll reach out to you if you're Bill Gates or someone of that ilk. For the rest of us mere mortals, the idea is to speak at a TEDx conference. A TEDx is a planned and coordinated independent local conference, but that adheres to the guidelines set forth by the main TED stage. To get on the stage of a TEDx, you need to apply to each conference. Now, finding a conference takes some legwork. There is no directory of the TEDx's. Instead, you go on the website of the TED.com and you will see a map of the world with all these little dots representing the many conferences that exist. It's your job to plow through this. They do give you some filters. Find the conferences that seem interesting to you, and then figure out where the conference is taking place, where the application is, and how do you get there. This is a lot of research. I know a guy, actually a gal, who can help you with this research, because I certainly did. Okay, so based on this research, I identified 3 conferences that were happening in 2020 so that I could make my 2020 goal. Thing was, these applications were due on or before March 31st. So you all remember what March was like, right? That's when life when we knew it had come to a grinding halt because of COVID. I will confess that this due date was a bit of a challenge because my family decided to relocate from our home in New York City to Northwest Connecticut and hunker down to avoid the scourge. I can tell you my motivation was not exactly skyrocketing, but I had my 2020 goal and I was determined to make it happen. So I again contacted Des to help me craft my applications. Now, each application to these conferences is a bit different, but it boils down to 2 things. First, you have to share a TED-worthy idea and then demonstrate your speaking ability. Typically, this means you have to make a 1 to 2 minute video of yourself explaining your idea. So I prepared my videos, completed the forms, and duly submitted my 3 applications. 10 days later, I received a call from the organizers of TEDx Hartford inviting me to an interview. I had a 20-minute Zoom interview, and then 2 weeks later, I got the email welcoming me to be a speaker at TEDx Hartford 2020 on December 6th. So, once you're accepted to a conference, the next step is to write your talk. For me, this was definitely the longest part of the process. In the summer, I started to research what it takes to make a good TED Talk. Remember that your goal in a TED Talk is to persuade your audience to jump out of their chairs at the end of your talk and change their life. So to do that, you need to create an emotional connection with your audience so that they'll want to learn from you. You need to tell compelling stories that flesh out your idea and clearly make your points. You need to explain the concepts in a way that the audience will understand, often using data and solid research, and you want to surprise them with a wow factor. You also need to organize your talk. It has to have a great opener, 3 points, closing argument, and all of this needs to be tied together with a clear through line. Well, for my talk, I sought to create an emotional connection of my story of how I went from stuck, uncreative teenager to professor of creativity at Yale University. I shared stories of how creativity had changed the lives of my clients. I also wanted to provide research-based information to help expand the audience's concept of creativity and to show to people that they did have the capacity to be creative. And I wanted to do something so that people would actually experience the magic of creativity through a meditation exercise. I put all this into my first draft and worked with my TED coach, someone provided to me by the conference. He and I went back and forth weekly. I created my slides, I began practicing in front of the mirror, and I thought, I'm in pretty good shape. With a few tweaks, I thought, I'll be ready to do this. So one Sunday morning, I decided to practice my talk with 4 of my dear friends in our regular 9:30 Sunday morning Zoom coffee hour. Well, I started delivering my talk, and it was clear that it was not going down so well. My friends found it hard to follow my train of thought. They were finding holes in my argument, and they hated my slides. One of my friends even said to me, I thought TED Talks were supposed to be transformational. Ouch. But you know what? As I thought about it, they were right. I'd forgotten one piece of wisdom that I had learned from Mark LeBlanc at that indie conference. Don't think you're better than you are. So I called up Des for the 3rd time and asked if he could help me out. First, he told me, you need to make this about the audience, so cut down on your personal story. Then you need to make them have a shift in their thinking about creativity. So use your new information and stories and examples to bring them along. Third, help them discover their creativity. It's okay, you can use your meditation. Fourth, show them how to activate their creativity, which we did by introducing a new 3-step process that Des coached me through. And finally, come up with a good opener. For that, I created with Des a visual creativity quiz to get the audience in the mood to be creative. And I had a compelling close. Plant a seed to suggest that if we all activated and shared our creativity, there'd be more great creative ideas out there with the potential to solve some of the world's problems. Well, Des and I went back and forth on an almost daily basis. We cut, we pasted, we sculpted, we reordered, we reworked, and we made sure that everything had a nice, clear through line. I finally felt ready to practice my talk in front of other people and to gear up for the main stage event. Well, to say that it takes a village to do something big is an understatement, because in my case, it was a metropolis. To practice my talk in front of an audience, I pitched to 9 different Zoom focus groups. These were friends, family, clients, former students who generously offered their time to listen to my talk and provide feedback. The groups ranged in size from 4 to 10, small enough to be intimate and large enough to provide a variety of points of view. My only rule to my friends was this: be honest and don't worry about hurting my feelings. Hey, I'd already heard I wasn't transformational, so how much worse could it get? Each time I got really helpful comments, I listened and I kept refining my talk. And the more I practiced my talk with my friends, the more eyes I saw lighting up, the more heads were nodding yes, and it made me reassured that I was ready to go on the stage. As I was nearing my final drafts, it now came time to memorize my talk. This was the one thing that really worried me. Yeah, I teach a lot and I mostly do it without notes, but a whole 15-minute TED Talk from memory? Well, my TED coach had a great idea. Divide it up into 8 sections and memorize each section a little at a time. Duh, I'm a coach. That's the advice I give to my own clients. If you feel overwhelmed, break it down. Well, I found myself saying my speech on my daily fitness walks, on my drives to the grocery store, in the shower. I literally could say my speech pretty much any time of day and sometimes even night. And there was one last challenge in giving this TED Talk: COVID. The original idea from TEDx Hartford was to host it in a beautiful theater in downtown Hartford, Connecticut. But by June, it was clear that this was not going to happen. And so they came up with the second plan: to rent a large ballroom at the Hartford Marriott, and to invite 100 people, masked and socially distant, to be our audience. That too became impossible. So we were on to Plan C. As it turned out, our organizer was an event producer and had his own event production company set up with a stage and recording equipment. So the plan became to host the event in the production company space, with the speakers and their guests in the live together and live streamed to an audience. Well, the COVID numbers started to spike after Thanksgiving, and as we got closer and closer to December 6th, I grew increasingly worried about this. So I asked to have my talk taped in advance of the actual show, and they agreed. And on December 3rd, my husband and I drove to Hartford, Connecticut, and showed up ready to be taped. There was no cheering audience for me, other than my wonderful husband and the stage crew. Instead, I delivered my talk to a black hole, imagining the presence of my audience, and I truly had no idea how the thing turned out. Was I scared? Yes and no. Yes, because I was making myself quite vulnerable by telling my personal stories and by putting some new information out into the world. Yes, because I missed the energy of the live audience. Yes, because I worried that I wouldn't be able to remember everything. And no, because I was really prepared. So on Sunday, December 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I turned on my computer to watch the event from the comfort of my living room. I'd actually invited a lot of people to watch the talk. All the people who helped me prep, almost 100 people, as well as everyone on my coaching database. And I was very gratified to see that the number of participants of the talk nearly doubled once I went on stage. So how did it go? It actually felt great. I never stumbled. I was so happy to see that. The audience feedback was terrific. And yes, it was worth it. Because in effect, Doing a TED Talk is 1% inspiration and 99% preparation. Because indeed, between August and the first week of December of 2020, I did 39 drafts of my talk. I had weekly meetings with my TED coach, providing videos and even live practicing with him. I did 9 focus groups. We had a dress rehearsal with all the TEDx speakers, not to mention the endless hours of practicing. I will confess, there were moments when I asked myself, why am I doing this? But I had a goal and I really wanted to make it, and I was really excited to share my information, and I was so close that I wasn't going to give up. So there was one final step. TED, the main TED conference, had to approve our talk. Well, not only did they approve my talk, but I was very gratified that they actually have posted my video on the main TED website. And there's one more thing about the video. As Des told us at that conference in March of 2019, the magic of your TED Talk is in the video. So my friends, this is where I'd love to ask you for some help. I'm at the stage where I'm ready to share my talk. And if you would all be open to it, I would greatly appreciate if you could watch my talk and make some comments on the YouTube site. And if you like it, to please share it with your friends, because I really am eager to spread the message of creativity for all. And to thank you, I'd love to share the first chapter of my book, where the idea of this TED Talk originated. You'll just go to the book page of my website to take a peek, and we'll provide the link for you in the chat. Well, those of you who are as tempted to do a TED Talk, find that big idea that you're passionate about sharing. Believe in yourself, because you are an expert. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. Swallow your pride and get all the help you need. And then get ready to deliver the talk that will change the lives of your audience. Thank you.
Astrid, that was great. You nailed it. Thank you so much. I want to do a speed round. I want to do a speed round right now, and I'll call on you. So if Suzanne could unmute everybody. Just think with what she shared, I'm sure we all had a takeaway, something that like, oh yeah. If you could just, this is the best feedback we could give her right now, is just from what you heard, what sparked you? What was a takeaway? What do you want to share? So with that, I'm going to go with Teresa, Tim, and Brad.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Astrid. That was brilliant. Loved it. My takeaway is breaking it down into the sessions, like the 8 sessions, that section, and memorizing it that way. Thank you.
Great.
Tim?
Yes, thanks. Astrid, once again, very, very good. Really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. My big takeaway was the diligence that you showed rehearsing with other people and getting feedback. I thought that was really, really important.
Yeah.
Brad and then Vic.
Yeah, thanks so much. Similarly, I thought it was great, and I can tell you're very prepared today. And so I loved your, the comment, of course, 1% presentation and 99% preparation. I can see that you've exhibited that today, and you did in your TEDx. And thanks. That's very truthful.
Vic?
I'm sorry, I just jumped in, but I'm sure you're fantastic, Astrid. I've heard you speak.
Thank you,
before.
Vic.
Thank you.
And Bill and Chris Hodges.
Hi, Astrid. Great presentation. You allayed my concerns. Anytime I have to practice anything more than twice, I get really upset with myself. And you brought some reality to a subject and a process that's really, really important to me.
Thank you. I mean, I'm from the arts. Practice, practice, practice. That's how you get to Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall, yeah. Yeah. Let's see, Chris Hodges, David Goldman.
Observation, Astrid, thank you. It was very interesting, very good. Your diligence was amazing. I was very surprised, and if you can respond to this, that would be great an hour later, about the fact that you memorized it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is contrary to everything I've ever functioned under giving a talk, to memorize it. I have seen so many epic failures of people who memorize things
and then they forget where they are, and then the wheels fall off and they go off the rails. So my point in asking you that is that the way TED does it? Is that the way you preferred to do it? How did, so I don't know if you can talk at all about that. Memorization was a very big surprise for me.
Sure. So that is what TED requires. I will say that we did have a little cheat screen. So I did have a cheat screen of points. And I also researched how do actors memorize. And they said, don't memorize word for words, because exactly that, if you forget the first word, it'll freak you out. So I had, did I do it perfectly? No, but I had enough comfort around my topic that if I didn't get the exact word, I had 3 others in the back of my mind. And that's why I practice so much, because I just, I had to learn to roll with the punches. And that's one thing that when I watched the tape, I never stumbled. And I can tell you that there was one time that I clicked my slides and they went backwards and I just kept going, So it's all in practicing. It really is. So
Thank you. That point, that simple point was so important, because I thought you literally word by word, and I thought, oh my God, I could never do that. I would blow up. But it sounds like you were 99% and you just switched the words when you needed to and it was smooth.
Yeah.
Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
David Goldman and Diane Ployce, please.
Yeah, I hate to be redundant, but it seems like the theme tonight is practice. So I agree completely with Tim and Bill. And it's very valuable for me to be reminded you can never practice enough.
Mhm.
Practice until you can't get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Diane?
I was intrigued by your opening with the paperclip. I thought
Okay.
that's something everyone can identify with, and it was physical. I thought that was a great opener. And I like how intentional you are in your delivery today, and also the stats that you kept. I appreciated that.
Thank you. So actually the paperclip thing worked its way into my talk, because I thought it would be cool to have a data point in a subject like creativity. And I love that. I think that 98% statistic is pretty cool. But I actually had a different opener. So if you all watch my talk, the opener is pretty cool. And I was very proud of that. Thank you though, Diane.
Mark, Mary, and Patty, please.
Well, I had already written down, I've got to go watch this talk. So you created an experience today that led me to want to go see it before you asked us. But I think the big takeaway was the power of a goal. It would have been easy to throw in the towel on all the practicing without having that clear goal in sight. So that was a great reminder.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
And Mary and Patty.
Yes, I'll go next. First of all, as a thank you for role modeling what is possible, you set your intentions, you set your goal, and you just went for it. You're role modeling for us that when you put in the work and put in the effort, that it is possible. Couple takeaways is get a coach. Get someone who specializes and can help guide the way, just like writing a book, right? Guide the Sherpa to help you along the way. And the other piece that I loved is the whole energy that you bring of perseverance and practice. 1% inspiration, 99%
preparation.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so true.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Patty?
Yes, thank you. Totally inspirational. And the word perseverance was already used, but that was my word too. Matt, you are amazing. And then when you said 39 drafts, that got my attention too. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Let's see, Regina, and who hasn't gone? Teresa?
And Teresa was first.
Teresa was first. I've done that to her a couple of times. And then Timothy.
So I'll tell you, a lot of what's already been said already. Loved your kickoff, loved having the goal. I think the big part for me, and maybe it's just where I'm at personally, is that you had the goal, but it was that theme of perseverance. You kept at it. You never gave up. And I think that's really important for anyone, when they're trying to achieve a goal or to write a book, right, Henry?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I got so excited listening to the comments. I'm not sure if I missed somebody. Did I miss anybody here? Hearing none, then I'm going to share. First off, Astrid, I am so proud of you for all that you've done in the last few years. And there were just little things you did there with which, I noticed. I noticed the prop. I noticed the Patricia Fripp story opening. I noticed all these other things that you'd worked on, and we know we've worked on over the years, different things where it all came in here. So that was so great. I went to Des Thornton because I know he was training people to do this, and he spoke to us about it. And I said, what could you do for training our people for TED Talks? And of course, he gets paid thousands of dollars. And Mark LeBlanc invented the $365 pinpoint. And I just want to encourage you all to think about that as a magic number and a way to share it. And I said, Des, would you be willing to do a $365 pinpoint with our authors? And he said, absolutely. Matter of fact, he said, I'll break it into 245 minutes. I said, I'm not asking you to comp them if they need more help, if they want more help. That's your profession. Bill it and offer it. I paid him $365 and got 2 trainings out of him. I'm ready to go with a TED Talk. I'm waiting for live, though today made me rethink that. And I wanted everybody to rethink some things about COVID-19 is a blessing, not a curse. The fact that we're doing this. Mark, I hired Suzanne in April of 2019 as the producer for our upcoming podcast. So I hired her for that. And then for a year and a half, she's doing everything else for us besides the job she was hired for. And her title is producer. So that's when you said in December, oh, we should put this on the parking lot. I was thinking, it's been on the parking lot since April of 2019. Let's get it on the road. And the other purpose of this is not to be a podcast because we're going to be podcasters and be more famous, but it was a way to connect with the authors and get the authors connecting with each other and give you opportunities to speak and also demonstrations of how to do things. One of the things I've been doing, I was demonstrating here with this lightning rounds, is I've been hosting roundtables and having everybody speak and get them a chance to say something instead of being just a participant or an attendee at a Zoominar. They get to be part of the Zoominar. I did it with CEOs of big corporations. We've got 9 big corporations who, people like Hint Water and other things who, came on with this idea. Now I leveraged Forbes.com with that. But my point is, what could you be doing like we're doing right here to connect with your people and the people you want to reach? So Astrid, thank you so much. And I'm opening it up for questions now. You can do questions through chat, or if you want to get attention, have the floor. Questions of Mark, questions of Henry, questions of Astrid, even each other if something struck you, with the idea of this is a way that you can access Henry and Mark on a weekly basis. And we're going to be here for you. So you can still have your meetings and your coaching and all those calls. But here's a place where you can find us. And questions are okay. So anyone have a question to start us? Let me go to the chat.
Henry?
I just posted one. And my question is, Astrid, who's your ideal group after I watch your talk?
I think he was asking, who's your ideal audience? Who's your tribe?
Right. So my ideal mini audience are creatives. And in my book, I describe them as, anybody who wants to, it's basically people who solve crazy problems and come up with new solutions and are really motivated to do that. I mean, what I do, I teach at the Yale School of Music. My students are typically professional conservatory trained graduate students in music as well as in theater. My clients tend to be arts leaders, people who run arts organizations. But for this TED Talk, my audience were open, curious people. I mean, open, curious, educated people, like everybody on this call. And that's who I was addressing in the TED Talk.
One
Henry,
more
this
question.
is Teresa. Oh,
Astrid, I'm being very specific and business-wise. Could you type into the comments block what you'd like me to say? Your ideal thing for me to send this out to people is, hey, look at this, blah, 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 blah. And it will be from me, but your words.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to do that now, or should I? You know what?
Do it now. Don't get distracted with other people's questions. But you listen to other people. Don't listen to me. But if you could send it to us later, because that's the perfect thing. I can say, bang, and then attach the topic up.
Totally. Why don't you put your, if you want me to, put your email in the chat, and I will definitely do that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So Teresa, you have a question?
I do. Thank you so much. Astrid, I believe that TED Talks aren't a direct relation to growing your business and getting direct clients, but how do you see this as building your influence within the industry you're working with?
Oh, well, that's pretty easy because for my industry, I mean, most of the people in my focus group were actually former students, colleagues, people working as professional creatives. And I think doing a TED Talk is one of those, bragging rights, Interestingly, my goal now for 2021 is let me see what possibilities exist. I'm having an exploring year. I don't have a specific, do a TED Talk by December 31st kind of a goal. And I'm very curious to see where this TED Talk will lead to. And I'm very open to possibilities. So I'm actually in the process right now of starting to share my talk and find people who I think are interesting, doing interesting things, and seeing how this resonates with them.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Astrid, when you talked about rehearsing, it reminded me when I did the pride swallowing siege of becoming a Vistage speaker.
Uh-huh.
And I put together a 3-hour workshop, and I wish we were all on Zoom then.
Yeah.
I had to rent a room at the university and get real live people to take half a day and come to the university and listen to me.
Yeah.
And I had to do it 4 different times before the talk was ready to give my first pro bono talk to a Vistage audience.
Right.
And,
I mean, it's so cool because actually that is one of the advantages of Zoom, that geography is no boundary. So I had people all over the US. I had a few people in Europe. And it was great that I was able to just, and also I'm finding in Zoom that people just they have more time. We're not traveling, we're not commuting. And so if someone says, hey, would you have 15 minutes to listen to my talk and another 30 minutes to provide feedback? The reaction was, a TED Talk, how cool. I'd love to. I mean, I had no pushback whatsoever. And it was really great. The earlier ones were more feedback, maybe, heavy, but, the more I did them, the smoother it got. It was just a really great thing. And I was actually really grateful for Zoom, that I could just turn on a Zoom camera and assemble people from all over America and Europe. It was very cool. Oh, the length of my talk, 15 minutes. Yeah, good question.
15 minutes. The memorization, there's 2 schools of thought on that. And when I was in speech competitions back in my younger days, you had to memorize every word.
Yeah.
And you had a very strict time limit. Like your speech will be between 7 and 8 minutes. So you had to rehearse that over and over again to be able to deliver it that way. Zig Ziglar, the late author and great motivational speaker, believed that it was a performance. And when he was speaking in an arena with 15,000 people, he wouldn't dare think that he was just going to go and have an outline and wing it.
Oh, no.
So he knew every gesture he was going to do. He knew what emphasis would be put on every word. When you work with Arthur Samuel Joseph, the speech coach, he has you write out the speech and you, what is the right word? When you make notes, annotate, yeah, on each word, like what syllable you're going to hit harder and what grammatical point are you going to take a beat after. So it's all spelled out. He comes from the performing arts world, and there's that notion. Now, if you're making a presentation for 15 minutes in front of the local Rotary, it's a different story. But if you were on television, like Robin Ryan, one of our authors, the PBS station in Seattle did an hour special on her book.
Wow.
And when you're on TV, she said, oh, there were a lot of rehearsals in front of them and you had to know every word. Now, there may have been teleprompters, but they're not asking you to go off the teleprompter and just for a minute throw the notes away and talk to the audience. They really want you prepared. And work I've done in television, a script is important. So those are just two ways of working. I think we should be skilled in both. Okay. Any other questions for the panel of experts here? Steve asked the length of the talk, and you said that was 15 minutes. To Mark LeBlanc's point that I quoted him on, you don't have to get approved by TEDx to give a 15-minute talk. You can rehearse it, practice it, deliver it in front of a group on Zoom, and load it up on YouTube and to your website. One of the takeaways is the shorter talk, the demand for the 15-minute talk. I think TED answered a need and helped shape the culture that we would deliver information in these 15-minute chunks. When I was booking a conference, I was the conference organizer, and I had some slots, and the audience said they wanted more speakers, shorter content. So I had an hour slot, and I was going to put 3 speakers in. And the first speaker told me, well, there's no way I can deliver my talk in 20 minutes. I mean, I'm going to need 90 minutes. You know, if I can't have 90 minutes, I won't present. I was flabbergasted. Well, for 2 reasons. One, you know, why do you think the audience needs 90 minutes to get your point? You know, that's whose fault is that? That's yours if you can't deliver it in that amount of time. The second thing was just the arrogance, and you're shutting yourself off to opportunities. Okay, let me talk about an opportunity. The forum, the Indie Family and Friends Forum. So this year, it's virtual. We're coming together. We have great speakers. We have networking opportunities, and I have a speech competition with 24 slots, and you tell a 3 to 4 minute story. We then will produce videos for each person, a separate video that you can post on YouTube. There's going to be a panel of judges who are going to judge on the Vistage scale. So you will get feedback just like you gave a Vistage talk on how you'd be rated. Part of that recommendation or rating, I'm sorry, the rating is content, 1 to 5, delivery, 1 to 5, and then there's a rating on recommendation. Would you recommend this talk? And we did it last year, and we had 24 speakers, only 8 would have been recommended as a Vistage speaker. So I have some hard news. Astrid said it. We're not as good as we think we are. We need to get better. I hear this practice thing is good. So if you do this competition, matter of fact, if you don't do the competition, you're making a huge mistake. When you do the competition, you should rehearse. You should just have that nailed, that 3 to 4 minute story. A story is the easiest thing to do because your mind is already hardwired for the story and to deliver the story. The benefit is everyone at the conference gets to hear more of you, understand more about you, and then is in a better position to amplify your work as a fellow indie author. Also, it's about the video. We need to do a lot more on video. We need to deliver a lot more content on video and be out there with people. There are simple ways to do it. Zoom is making it very affordable to do. Zoom's not amateur hour. You need to spend a little on your lighting. You need to spend a little on your sound, a better camera. All those things are good things to do because we're living our life on Zoom. Now, more than one author on this call have talked to me and said, Henry, I do not like this. I do not like it. I like being with people. I get it. I'm with you. There's a lot more energy when you're there with people. Last week, I had one of my 3 author retreats. We had a great author retreat. We had people from around the country, and they didn't have to pay $1,000 to fly on an airplane and book hotel rooms to be with me. That's one of the blessings of what we're going through right now. I'm not going back to live author retreats, marketing retreats. They will always be virtual from now on. I know Mark is fully embracing virtual, and the forum in 2022 will be live. Some of our speakers said, until it's live, I don't want to come back and be there. I hope you understand. And we get it, because you draw a lot of energy live. We want to be there together. We will be. But right now is the time to really embrace this, to do more on video, to do more on Zoom, to help more people, to have impact and influence in this little box that we're living in right now. So that's what I wanted to leave you with today. With that, I'm going to ask if Astrid has a closing comment, and then we'll bid the group adieu.
Yes. Yeah, I want to encourage everyone who has this idea that you want to share to really think about doing a TED Talk, because it is really a fantastic opportunity to, first of all, get ultra clear on your thinking. I mean, that was one of the amazing things about working with Des. He just kept listening to me and saying, what are you trying to say? And sculpting it down and narrowing it. And so now I'm ultra clear on my message. And I found that to be just invaluable. I learned so much. And it really does take your speaking to the next level. I mean, in terms of, I love speaking in public. I teach a lot, but this is just, on a completely different level. And it was and also it's a personal accomplishment. It's nice to, have a goal. And I guess if I had one piece of advice, it's to trust yourself, right? You're all experts. You're all passionate about your ideas. I'm sure that something in your book is something that no one else has said, and that it's up to you to actually spread that idea and see how you can change other people's lives. So I would encourage you all to do that. And if anyone is interested in connecting with me, I'd be delighted to, just email me. You can find me on my website, Astrid at astridbaumgardner.com. We can share it with you if you want through Suzanne. And I'm very happy to talk to people about this, because it really was an amazing experience. And I really appreciate Henry and Mark having the opportunity to come and speak to our authors. So thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you all for listening. I really appreciate your comments. Thanks so much.
Thank you. One last piece of information, and there was a question on what do we do different virtually? Well, I'll dedicate several shows to that, several podcasts to it. Patrick McGowan will come on and give us tips for living our life here on Zoom and how amateur hours order over. Mark and I have both hired Patrick to help us up our Zoom game. So on virtual, one of the things is, what I'm doing right now is looking into the camera, and that translates to me looking at you. If I look at you, then I'm looking down and seem distracted. And I saw this played out on national TV with Jon Stewart was on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and he was promoting his movie. And during it, Trevor just stopped him and said, "Oh, John, on this virtual, you need to look up into the camera, not at me. That makes it look like we're having the conversation." And John Stewart says, Trevor, you're the 24th interview I've done, and you're the first person who took the time to tell me that. It's like one day somebody told me I had toothpaste on the corner of my mouth. And I said, thank you. However, you're the 5th person I have met with today. And I think the other 4 would have been kind if they had pointed that out earlier, instead of thinking, I wonder if he knows he's got toothpaste around the corner of his mouth. Okay, so there'll be lots of tricks about framing and lighting and where you set and the energy level you need to project, all on Zoom. I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm just trying to be one toe ahead of you and tell you what I'm doing and share it. So we look forward to future calls and podcasts. Thanks to everyone today for participating. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.